Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see you both.
Veterans Day.
Happy Friday.
Yeah.
And veteran. Well, tomorrow, technically, yes, but
Second best
happy
day
Friday.
of the week.
Yes, true. I missed you guys. You guys killed it on Monday. You guys did a
I
great
know
episode.
it was sad
really proud.
having. Yeah.
We did pretty good without you.
But you were missed. You were missed.
Yeah. All right.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go
Good
now.
save, Randy. Good save.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's whatever.
We had to do a
I
bonus
loved it.
episode
It was a good show.
so Will could get involved this week.
Had to do it. Force your hand. No, this is a fun one though to jump into because obviously it's super timely and relevant to what everyone is talking about, no matter what. So I'm excited. I'm geeked out. I'm caffeinated, thanks to Sojo. Love it. So you guys ready for this?
Yeah. I've been saving up all my rants. They're bubbling beneath the surface.
I'm a fan
all
of
the
most of
brandy
what-
rants.
I'm a fan of most of what
Go
we're
ahead.
about to talk about. So I think I'm excited to see how execution actually comes through. But today we are discussing all of Airbnb's recent updates. And if you're a single host, this is absolute music to your ears and will likely save you a bunch of money and headache and operations. But there are some catches or some pitfalls that we'll dive into as well. So what topic you guys want to kick off first? Which one of Airbnb's release got Randy going most?
I think we should save my biggest ones for the end, which is like pricing, because I will probably explode at one point.
That's fair.
Well,
fair.
I'm a big fan of preparation, and there's victory in preparation. And I stayed up late last night building out this little doc. So I think we should jump into the guest facing items first. So what do you guys think? Guest facing, then move over to host operators.
Yeah.
All right, let's do
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
So
as a guest, I think most of us are looking for those places that are kind of like 4.5 or higher in the star rating. If you see a 1 or 2 star, quite frankly, Airbnb's probably kicked them off already because they don't let those stick around anyway.
You must be on like page 20 if you're seeing anything with a star like that.
Yeah, so buried deep in the algo, it just you can't find it. But they've just released a new banner or badge where the guests can see the guest favorite properties. And this encompasses a few different aspects, but the primary one is a 4.9 star average, which is extremely high.
Yep.
mm-hmm.
Brandy, how hard is it to get a 4.9
Very,
average?
very hard. But I think this is like a central theme throughout this whole conversation is like, if you are an individual host, that is way more achievable than if you are an operator that does multi-unit listings where, so who is this audience? Who is this really for? And I like the guest favorite. I think it's kind of like the next level up to rare find. Because I think it's always fun, like when I book trips and you see something that's a rare find, like when we just stayed in Istanbul, ours was a rare find and it was such a cool loft. It had a sauna in it. Like you really felt like it was something special that you were getting on the platform. And they said it updates daily. So that seems like it's a little bit more fair than Superhost, which is a
Yeah.
quarterly trailing 12 kind of situation.
I do love the update daily aspect of it. My biggest fear is the bad actors out there going to their competitor and, you know, giving them a 3-star. It ruins
Mhm.
the algorithm for the next like many months before you can get back to 4.9. So keep an eye on that, Will.
I was gonna say again though that like if you're an individual host, how many real competitors do you have outside like the operator, like bigger PM size? If you have 200 or 500 plus listings, um, but also like in the recent updates, not even just from this season or this winter release, but other ones that Brian has talked about and they've done, they really do push into discovery and search. And I've heard him on multiple podcasts and talking about the way that they envision people traveling in the future and how this is all going to play together. And I think, the guest favorite is just another addition to this searchability, discoverability side. Um, Again, great for the individual host. It's a little scary to think if you're a bigger operator, like, okay, like you have to cater to this algorithm. And if you don't, because you're on a PMS and then you have, Verbo and all these other channels, you're going to have to do a lot of tweaking for one channel compared to probably the rest. So maybe a little bit more heavy lifting on the ops side, just my thinking. But I'm not a big operator. I only got like 20 homes. So
That's a good size, Will. Don't put yourself down. Uh, but I mean, the review part is part of the current system that I find to be the most unfair. Like, you're just one review is, like, that could just be any, and everyone has bad days. Everybody has something that
yeah,
falls through on the upside once in a while. The guest expect like something is going to happen, and it just doesn't leave you really any wiggle room. And so, like, I don't know. I mean, competitors going and like kind of trashing a listing, I think it's more just that one guest that
the
has a bad
traveler.
experience, which just happens.
Mhm.
And so the kind of the strictness about that, or like a one kind of strike policy, because it does take so long to build back up to that rating. That's the part that I think is, that's going to be difficult to maintain.
Yeah, competitor stuff
Yeah.
aside, it puts the hosts in power, the ones that actually get the system and game the system, because now they can ask for anything and everything. Like, oh, I want to extend my stay by a couple hours, so like, don't send your cleaners yet. Checkouts at 2. Well, no, sorry, that's not policy. Well, I'm not going to give you a 5-star if you don't. So it
Yeah.
it does open up.
Getting held hostage.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does open up a hostage situation. Um, but all in all, like as a traveler, it's a great feature to have. My big question is like, what percentage of hosts actually fit into this 4.9 or above?
Yeah.
I just checked my Uber thing since that's probably the closest comp, and I'm a 4.92. So I would just squeak it out
Mm.
on Uber, having taken, I'm sure, hundreds of rides on Uber. But I remember, there was one guy that just like knocked me down for some reason. Uh, and it like bumped me from that
Some
5.
reason.
I don't remember why, but bumped me down from like 5 down to
Uh,
like a
Yeah.
lower number. So yeah,
Michael probably had a couple drinks.
I mean, I don't specifically remember the incident, but Uber's been around a long time.
Yeah.
So over time, it does let the cream kind of rise to the top, but
Mhm.
it does also put a lot of power in the guest's hands, which I guess is what Airbnb is intending.
Yeah, agreed. I do wanna say, like, I think a big theme too with the reviews piece, like, looking at the product release, not just on their website, but kinda watching the demo on the video that Brian did too. I think a common theme throughout all of these new updates is the simplicity feature, and, like, obviously, Brian's all in about design. So, I will say, like, it does look really nice. Like, as a user, whether you're a host or a manager or a traveler, like, they killed the simplicity piece and making it super user friendly for both sides. Obviously, we're gonna jump into the host and the operator side now, but it I will say, like, no matter whether you love it or hate it, it looks good. It looks really good.
Does does anyone else feel like the review system in modern society is akin to the tipping system in modern society, where it's just like out there, it kind of
Yeah.
like, you have to do this, give us a 5-star. You have to tip 20% at McDonald's to your McDonald's server for doing the same
Yeah.
thing they've done for the past 20 years, right? Like, it just feels like we're all being forced to give 5 stars, to tip in areas that make no sense in tipping. So we'll
Well, I would say that not everybody feels forced to give 5 stars. Uh,
I feel an obligation to
I
give 5
I
stars.
mean, and I do too. I mean, I would have to have, like, a particularly terrible experience, and I probably just wouldn't leave a review, but that's because I know what it's like on the operator side
Yeah.
to and, like, that goes for anything, like, an Uber driver, like, they would have to, like, endanger me for me to not give a 5 star. Um, and so I think that I don't know, I mean, the review system, I liken it to the tipping system in that it is a system that I think has gotten out of hand, but I don't
Mhm.
have a better option right now. Like, so I don't really have a way to, like, put that genie back in the bottle. Um, but kind of going back to your point about simplicity and design, this is something where I think Airbnb is just absolutely crushing any competitor. Is that it is a
Mhm.
beautiful site. It is so easy to use. They're really limiting the number of clicks it takes to get you from the search page to checkout. Everything is seamless, and they are just every update hones that a bit more. So that's where I think they are just kind of like smoking their competitors.
Well, even like Brian hosting people, whether you believe they're actually guests or not, like I'm sure there's a lot of friends that are staying with him and booking on Airbnb or whatever. But him being the host and him kind of showing like it was kind of annoying to update my listing. I had to find my fire pit. And I was watching the video last night and it was like, look, I get where they're at, and I understand the big picture of all this because, like you said, the simplicity, the design, the more time you're able to spend in the app, quicker to get to purchase, or even as a host to get to updating and being at this standard for the guest favorite badge or whatever. It's getting so easy that it's driving. Hopefully, it's going to drive. I hope any vendors or technology companies that listen to this episode are kind of inspired to hopefully up their game too to make the same thing because as an operator, if you have more things to keep doing, I know it's hard and I'm not a tech guy and it's easy for me to say as a person, a talking head on the show, but at the end of the day, like I hope it just really does drive home because at the end of the day, that's how you're going to lose people. I think really you would lose people on the tech side or the vendor ecosystem due to ease of use. So could be could be something to pay attention to.
You touched on vendors, so let's quickly move into all of the
Yeah,
updates
we're
that
now into the host and manager side of the updates. So, go ahead.
there's a lot of updates that if you are a vendor in this space catering towards the individual hosts or 5 properties and fewer, hopefully you haven't kind of been in talks with Airbnb and let them learn everything about your business because it's now going to be used against you. Um, will which one of the updates are you most interested in? I know Brandy's answer.
Yeah. We'll let you go first.
I hate to say it. I on a positive note, I was really into the AI, photo tour. I loved that. I think that was a sick feature, and I'm always skeptical of AI outside of like a couple companies like Bestie AI, who's a really cool, communication tool for hosts and managers. But knowing the kind of financial backing behind Airbnb, Amazon and all these big companies, Meta, whatever, they all use AI to a certain degree to make you want to shop and to make products look better and to do all this other stuff. So the way in the application, Airbnb did with AI, I think this is a great use case. The part that I'm not the most excited about, and I'm a little hesitant, nervous, and maybe want to get some of our listeners and our industry friends' opinion on this, but the access control and smart locks. This jumps completely into a whole new set of pretty much product build.
Well,
That I don't think,
don't forget
yeah,
guidebooks too, right? I think that's
yeah.
an interesting addition to it as well. So we've got guidebooks and guest access, and
Brandy's comment on the guidebooks is good, but keep going.
we'll the this year, I mean, in our VRMA recap, you guys said the companies that are most frequently popping up are new guest guidebook companies.
Mhm.
And it's probably not a good time to be launching a guest guidebook unless you're only going after hotels or large vacation rental companies. In that case, you're insulated some, but the onesie twosies that are piping through Airbnb, you know, Airbnb is offering hosts now a lot of value. If it's
Mhm.
automated locks, guest books, pricing, we'll get into. Uh, they're doing a very good job of making their platform extremely sticky for those ones and twos out there that might grow to 5 and 10 and still only work on Airbnb, because now it's going to be a pain in the butt to take a booking that's not on Airbnb because you don't have your locks, you don't have your guidebook, you don't have, these other tools that Airbnb is now offering as just part of their service. Now, will they start charging for them one day? Probably.
a hundred
Uh,
I
percent.
I feel like they're,
Probably.
well,
I
100%, but I also feel like maybe now like the playing field, sorry, Brandy, to cut you off, but like the playing field is probably now leveled to actually justify their host service. Like before, it's like, okay, great, I'm paying you, 4 or 6%, whatever the percentage was, to just give me a booking, which cool. I guess it's great as a marketplace. It's kind of your job. But now I actually, as a host individually, probably wouldn't care. I think, oh, great. I get all these other tools for that 6%. Or maybe if you take the whole fee yourself and don't let the guest pay their service fee, then maybe it justifies because now you're not paying for a 20 buck to death of all these other products and services that you're going to need to run your business remotely anyway. So I don't know. That's just my thought. Brandy, over to you.
so a couple things. I think the guest book component of this makes is like the easiest way. You have a lot of the data already in the listing. And so I mean, and this is absolutely no shade to any guidebook companies, but like if you are only a guidebook company, like that is just the easiest thing for Airbnb to take over, or really any of the OTAs. And I don't like that's, so if there's those companies are now adding other features so that you can have a more complex, product. But I think that's on the way out in terms of like having that be like a core, like the only core tenant of your business. But this whole play is very, it seems it's like this the classic vertical integration. You control every single component of the experience from for the hosts and for the guests. And if you think about it, like if you're a new host, yeah, this is amazing. Or if you're a small host, this really like if you it keeps all of your costs down, like you said, and it makes everything so much more seamless. I really liken this to the Apple ecosystem that I'm stuck in because, you know, everything I have is an Apple product. And if I have non Apple products, they don't work very well together. And I think this is, though, going to exacerbate the divide between hosts and operators, and because you're going to have this whole ecosystem of hosts that are, you know, only on Airbnb, that only live in Airbnb. And right now in the industry, we get very frustrated when short-term rentals are referred to as Airbnbs, but that is only going to continue when you have the majority of the platform are those individual hosts. And so these rollouts, like the reason I'm like not I'm fired up about pricing, which we'll get into later, but the rest of it makes
Yeah,
a lot of sense. And it's also not aimed at most of the people that are probably listening to us right now. This is not aimed at the bigger operators,
100%.
but this is going after a huge chunk of all of the vendor, audience and taking all of their products. And I feel, I mean, saying I feel bad. I have some sympathy towards their, strategizing and planning, because not only now is Airbnb coming for their products like locks and pricing and all of this, but also all of the PMSs are doing it too. So, they're getting squeezed from all these different sides. Now, the one like caveat to all of this is, can Airbnb actually deliver on these? Because they are
Mhm.
going through and offering a whole slew of products, but, that technology, that's a lot of technology to roll out at once. I mean, unless they've been buying other companies, or they have partnerships with certain companies. So I think that that remains to be seen, but they will definitely start charging for this, because that 4% host fee, that's that's
I
not gonna
don't know
cut
they
it for long.
will. I don't know if they will, because their goal is to always have exclusivity with the hosts. And this is a way to ensure exclusivity with the host. If I have one property, honestly, I don't know at this point, why I would list with anyone other than Airbnb.
Yeah, oh, agreed. If you had one, for sure, for sure.
And that's half the market. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel bad. I've been on the vendor side. I feel bad for the vendors that in their slide deck has the TAM of 7 million listings on Airbnb, because now cut that in half. Well, Jamie can tell us exactly the number, but
Yeah.
that addressable market now is massively constrained. Um, and growth will be that much harder, because now you've got the same amount of companies going after the 50 and above type of property management companies. So we in the beginning of the year we had discussion on predictions, and one of mine was like consolidation on the vendor side. I must admit I didn't really see it coming from Airbnb. The
Mhm.
PMSs have done a good job of consolidating, and some of the bigger players out there have made some acquisitions that make total sense. But I did not see Airbnb launching all of this stuff their own. Uh, I
Mhm.
guess they got tired of going after experiences and hotels in Japan or something, and now they're focusing on their core market and what their core market needs and how they win exclusivity. And I think they're doing a good job on everything except the pricing. Anyone who wants to use Airbnb's pricing needs to know it is going to be extremely self-serving for Airbnb. They're very open about wanting to drive prices down. And so they're going to tell you to price your property lower. Um,
Mhm.
there is an increase in supply, which means as long as demand isn't increasing at the same rate as supply, then everyone's going to have fewer bookings. So yes, there actually might need to be some price compression. But years ago, and I'm sure algorithms have changed a good bit, but Ryan Dame did a test on three different pricing strategies. One was one of the pricing companies, I don't remember who, so I'm not going to misquote it. One was doing it himself, and then one was using Airbnb's algorithms. And no surprise, Airbnb's algorithms were about 15% less than the other two routes, which were, I believe, and Ryan can correct me, I believe we're pretty close. Uh, so, yeah, I mean, it's going to be self-serving for them for sure. And it's smart for them to do that, but I think it does need to be educated to the hosts that price it however you feel best, not however Airbnb tells you to.
Yeah. So I have a thought, and I kind of want to push back on this, but for the listeners and for the overall theme of the episode, we've kind of covered almost every feature from listing tab to AI, photo tour, access control. Our overall thought and summary is the same with all of these. Into pricing, though, this is where I kind of want to push a little bit because now every big PM has listed on or a PMC has listed on Airbnb. So data is pulled through. Airbnb not only sees the host side, but they also see the bigger property manager side of what they're pricing and their strategy. Now, Michael, you're 100% right. Like they are pushing one to get rid of fees, whether it's you taking the whole guest service fee, your cleaning fee absorbed into the nightly rate, and now also saying like Airbnbs need to be cheaper. And this is like the whole thing on Twitter. You can even see, like, if you go to Airbnb's LinkedIn profile, people are commenting, like, when are you going to update this? And when are you going to do this? And they're like, not even hosts, they're travelers. They're business people that travel and book on Airbnb. The pricing thing, though, I was listening briefly. I haven't finished the episode, but Jamie Lane, shout out to you for having Madeline from Focusrite on the show, STR Data Labs, where she makes a pretty solid point that if you are like, we've had a boom, we've had a very big boom with short term rentals over the last couple of years, and have people have been raking in some money. Granted, not like saying maybe today or the last 6 months, it's been a little different, but if you look at, 2020, 2021, and even 2022, a lot of people have had some of the best years of their business in history and have been raking in money. And guests know that, like, they've gone to that route and they've experienced the short-term rental side. With hotels now, I think it is going to really be pushing people because hotels are becoming more back to the norm of the traveler. Travelers are seeing, maybe it's not consistent at the short-term rental, whether it's professionally managed or a host and all this other
Well,
stuff.
it's
So
too
now the
expensive.
pricing piece is, yeah, it's too expensive. And, granted, like, I was staying, I was on a little 4-day vacation. I had a 3-bed, 2.5 bath condo, didn't need all that space by myself. And it was pretty affordable for a solo person. But if I'm splitting that with a group of people, like a group of friends or, maybe a family, then it's pretty damn cheap. So that makes sense. But compared to a hotel, hotels are becoming more competitive in the overall travel market and lodging sector. So I think, not saying like trust Airbnb's pricing and lower your rates and be, bottom of the barrel, because it's not the route to go. Obviously, it's not sustainable for anybody. But I will say, like, we do need to get better as an industry, or at least as a sector of hospitality, on pricing and actually bringing that standard and that valuation of like guest value versus your nightly rate. So Brandy's got a face that I think she's going to be pushing on it, and I'm ready for the Brandy rant. Let's go.
Oh my god, yeah. Okay, so a couple of things. I think it's first going back to the fact that STRs are not hotels. That you're not getting that's the value proposition is totally different. If you're a business traveler that's going into town for 2 days, yeah, staying at a short-term rental or an Airbnb is not that doesn't make sense. And so, like, I think that now people want to have it's like want their cake and eat it too or whatever. Which also that saying to me has always been ridiculous. Why would you have cake and not eat it? But the point being
Amen.
that you're okay, if you want a hotel, it's a smaller room, you have less costs associated with it, and there are usually more of them in the building, right? If you are a short-term rental, you have a kitchen, living room, bedroom, there's more space, there's more, like, cost to the physical space, there's more cost to cleaning it and operating it. So the fact that you were able to book a 3-bedroom and it was affordable for one person, I mean, you maybe weekday pricing, but also that could just be like poor pricing strategy. The whole thing is like if you get a 3-bedroom and you're sharing it with people, it's affordable for everybody. It's not the same product, and you shouldn't be pricing them like that. And so, of course, Airbnb wants to drive down the prices compared to hotels because that's their biggest threat right now, their biggest competitor. They want more inventory, more revenue, but that is not a revenue for you as the host or the big operator. It's on a listing level. The ADRs are going to go down, your revenue is going to go down. So, while I do agree that we've had a couple years of, like, wild ADRs and people raking in a lot of money, that doesn't mean that there needs to be this super compression to compete with hotels. They are 2 separate products, and people looking for different, that have different travel needs are going to book different types of properties. And so the pricing component really hits a nerve for me because a lot of this is Airbnb controlling your business. And if you're a single host and you have one listing and you're kind of maybe doing this on the side, or you just want the like most frictionless path that you could have, then yeah, it's great. It's super easy and you kind of just like set it and forget it maybe, or it just helps you do your own individual thing. But every like component of this almost every component of this release is taking little threads of control away from you as a business owner, especially the pricing. And sorry, you wanna go say okay. I'm seeing a
That
reaction.
that's it though. Like, we as an industry need to stop looking at Airbnb as going to be helpful for professional managers.
Yeah, agreed.
Everything they ever say is contrary, and they're leaning into it, they're owning it, and they're building fantastic tools for hosts that
Yes.
have 1, 2, 3 properties,
Yep.
and they own that market, right? Booking and Vrbo don't own the single host market, and if you're looking at all 3 of those platforms and you have a listing, it's obvious you're gonna choose Airbnb, especially if they give you all those tools,
Yeah.
and you're not even gonna build your own one-page website with a booking platform because now it doesn't flow through all the tools that Airbnb gives you. So, I think, as an industry of professional managers, you know, all of the signs have been there for years. And, I think we've largely just complained about Airbnb not caring about us.
They
They
don't. I
don't.
mean, they like,
They
that's
don't.
that's we have to stop, like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Like,
100%.
we're having these conversations, and that has been really sinking in, is that there isn't going to be like, the next update is not gonna be, "Here's an easier way for big property management companies to distribute on our platform." Like, that's not coming, and I really have a lot of sympathy for our account managers who are responsible for our type of company, because it's like I mean, it's obvious they can't refute what's being said publicly, And I
Yeah.
think the thing to be careful about, for those individual hosts that I see kind of coming down the pipeline, is when you are so entrenched in that platform, then they can make any decision for you and you have no recourse. So if they want to increase the host fee, if they want to change up the algorithms, if they want to, suddenly just go offline, which obviously won't happen, but or if they do go offline for some reason,
Or
and
they kick your listing off,
or
right?
they
And
can, yeah,
we've seen that happen time and time again, many times by accident or not anything the host did, just like something happened that shut down their account. So,
yeah,
yeah, look, I'm not preaching a message of only go with Airbnb if you're a single host, but it's pretty alluring to do if you're a single host.
yeah.
So,
Like, it
I
makes
would have
sense.
to I'd have to admit, if I had a second home myself and I was managing it myself, I would probably just use Airbnb and all the tools they gave me.
Yeah. Honestly, I
And I'm
agree.
one of the most interesting aspects of this whole release was there was a comment. I'm going to try and find it here real quick. That they're launching in 2024 a comprehensive marketplace of services. So what we see now is kind
It's
of
well,
just
it's
the
ru it's
tip of the
rumored,
iceberg.
it's rumored.
Okay. Well, what we see now
Yeah.
is just the tip of the iceberg. And maybe they're out there acquiring a few companies that so they don't have to build everything themselves.
That's what I think makes the most sense.
It makes the most sense, but it hasn't necessarily been the path that Airbnb's always gone down.
That's
So
fair.
I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah.
they build it all themselves in house.
I have to say, like, this is where I can kind of flip my perspective. I mean, I really do kind of respect the way that they've been, moving forward and really trying to build their company. And I think that the takeaway for professional operators is diversify your revenue streams. Like, Airbnb, you'll always be able to distribute to Airbnb. They're not going to block off, 35% of their revenue stream, but don't as emotional as I can get about it on these little rants, like, don't there are many other ways for you to, increase your distribution on booking.com or your own website. And so take all of this with like a grain of salt, figure out how you can best position your business to succeed in the new environment they create, and just move forward, because in a year they're going to have another set of updates that you have to adapt to.
My question is, does Vrbo rebrand? Because they're a vacation rental by owner. So if they wanna go for the big
They
professionals
already did.
and let
It's called
Airbnb
Vrbo.
grab the not Vrbo, but still a vacation rental by owner is what it stands for. So they're gonna
That's
change
when
something because at the end of the day, like Verbo
from a
doesn't
branding
Verbo to
perspective.
VRBO. It's not a real rebrand. I will dispute that to the day I die. It's not a real rebrand.
Okay.
That's a name
Well,
change
I,
or a
I will
pronunciation change.
counter argue that VRBO as an acronym stood for vacation rental by owner, but as they're going by now, Verbo, that's their brand. So
Tim Rizzolio, if you're listening, let us know. I wanna dispute this. Just kidding. No, this is a good episode. I have more thoughts and comments based off of Brandy's rant, but we'll wrap up since we're a little over our normal time. But to give everyone a sneak peek what's happening on Monday, we are back, but we're gonna have a special guest. We're gonna have Paul, the CEO and founder of Summer. And if you saw our Good Morning Capital report, you will have seen that they have raised some money. So we're gonna talk to Paul about their business model, the differentiators between other companies like them, and of course what they depend or not depend, but what they plan on doing with the capital now that they've raised it in this kind of crazy market. So
I know. I'm
I'm
so
excited
happy to
for our
see.
special guests.
I'm so happy to see people
What?
raising money. I said I'm so happy that people are raising
Yes.
money. This is great.
Yes, agreed. It's good to see the cash flowing. So, if you're not a subscriber to our Good Morning Capital report or our dashboard, please go do it. It's free and we love seeing all your beautiful names instead of just the download numbers that we see on the back end. So, thank you guys so much. And of course, Brandy, Michael, have a great weekend. And I can't wait for the next Brandy rant because you got me fired up this morning.
On Monday.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.